the source or cause of our fear. Many of us feel a fear in our lives. We are always scared of something, that something bad will happen, that they will get us where there is other people, that the world is out to get us, or that nothing ever goes our way, or no matter what you do, you will never be happy or successful. Each and every one of us feels this fear. Even the so-called successful people, especially the so-called successful people, because the average people like you and me, we can pretend that our problems will go away when we become rich, wealthy, or more sexy, or better looking, or whatever. We can pretend, if only I had that bigger house, the newer car, a better job, all my problems would go away. But they won't. Just look at the suicide of Robin Williams. If you remember, Robin Williams was a great comedic actor, one of the funniest men in Hollywood. He entertained millions of people, made them laugh. But he himself committed suicide for reasons we don't really know. I was reading, or rather hearing a talk by Eckhart, and he said he was talking to another movie star, and this movie star said how he was sitting in his private plane drinking champagne and still feeling miserable. And if you can't feel happy while sitting in your private plane and drinking fancy champagne, then trust me, you can never be happy. And that is the problem of our life. None of us are happy, and the reason we are not happy is because we feel this fear inside of us, the fear that something bad will happen, that we are not safe yet, that we are not good enough, that we are losers or pretenders, and that we will be found out and everything taken from us. We keep hoping, or rather, we keep dreaming that if we had enough money, we could overcome this fear. We could stop feeling like shit all the time. We could overcome our feeling of insecurity and not being good enough. But money does not solve your problems. It will only create new ones. The reason being, the problem is not the outer world. The reason you are so miserable has nothing to do with the fact that you don't have your dream job, or you don't have $1 million in the account, or that you don't look like an underwear supermodel. And like I said, I know this because millionaires who look like supermodels or who marry supermodels and can have all the great sex they want, can drive the biggest cars or the biggest yacht or their own private jet, they are still miserable. They marry supermodels and then cheat on them with their secretaries. They buy a yacht and then worry about how expensive it is to maintain. Or like Michael Jackson, they make millions but spend millions and so are always in debt. If you remember the last few days of his life, Michael Jackson had a private zoo, and that was forced to close down because he couldn't afford to keep it running anymore. The animals were not getting the treatment they needed and were suffering. So you have these millionaire movie stars, rock stars who commit suicide, overdose on drugs, or carry out millions of plastic surgeries to improve every inch of their face, but still hate the way they look. Money hasn't solved their problems. It has just given them new problems. Because, as I've said before, you think you have many problems, but you actually only have one problem. The problem is that you have lost touch with who you are, what you are. You have forgotten that you are the formless, the infinite, a being beyond time and space. You are God in every sense of the word. But you have forgotten that and think of yourself as a limited body. You think you live in the world of form. You think you live in a house, in a city, and you drive to work in a car or in a train. You think you have a job that pays you. And all of these things are correct from a relative point of view. While you are in this body, you are bound by the laws of the physical world. But you are bigger than the body. You are something much more vast, something much more infinite, something much more beautiful than just your body or your mind. You are not the stream of thoughts rushing through your head. You are not the person you think you are, which is usually your mental programming, your thoughts programmed by your upbringing. So if you're born in an Indian household, you might think you're an Indian fellow with a big mustache and a small car. Which you are. Well, you're not an Indian fellow with a big mustache. You might be a white woman from Kansas or something, but you are the limited form. But you are something also beyond that. Our problems arise because we think we are this body, we are this mind, we are identified totally with our thinking. The mind cannot stop thinking, cannot stop analyzing. And our problem is we identify with this thinking state or thoughts, many of which are mechanical or belong to other people, and that we have borrowed. You might have borrowed your thoughts from your family. So if your family grew up hating another religion, a certain religion, you might grow up hating that religion too. Just because your family borrowed, or you borrowed that thinking pattern from your family. If you're brought up in a culture that was programmed to hate another religion, then you will hate that religion, even though the people of the religion might not have done you any harm. An example of this is Jews during World War II, when it was acceptable to hate Jews all throughout Europe and blame them for your problems. It is the same today with Hindus and Muslims in India. They have been programmed to hate each other culturally, and children grow up with this hate, this thought pattern of hate they inherit from society, and that they blindly accept as their own. And that is the cause of your fear. You know that all your thinking, all your thought patterns, all your beliefs, whether religious or otherwise, your belief in God, your belief in the government, your belief in your parents or your wife or your children, you know that none of that will last. The world of form does not last. It cannot last. It must die. It must be destroyed. It will be destroyed. Because that is how the world of form works. Like the yin and yang in Chinese culture, it keeps moving from one extreme to another. It keeps changing. It keeps fluctuating. Just when you think you have life under control, life moves. and you feel out of control again. You will never feel happy or safe in the world of form, because it will always keep changing, and always change in a way to challenge you. You might get a better job, but it will have more responsibilities and more work for you. You might get a more sexier husband or wife, but then they will need more maintenance, which means more money. Same for a bigger car, bigger house. And nothing will last. Your cool job will become boring, or it will no longer be interesting to you. Your husband or wife will grow old. Your car will start to break down. Your brand new house will start to look old, and the paint will start coming off the walls. And you'll always be running around to maintain it. That's what the world of form looks like. You keep running, but you are still in the same place, like a treadmill in the gym, where no matter how much you run, you never go anywhere. That is the world of form. That is how the universe you see works. It keeps changing, and it will always pull the rug from under your feet. I think Pema Chodron is the only one who got it right, or at least she's the one who only teaches it this way. She says, rather than fear uncertainty, start accepting it. Accept that your life will never be perfect, will never be stable, will never be the way you want it to be. Just accept it. You will never find the perfect job, the perfect wife, the perfect car, the perfect house. And even if you do find something you like, it will change. Whether the other person will change or life will change, and life will become challenging once more. The way to find joy is by not looking to the outer world for everlasting peace. The world of form will never bring you peace. It will never bring you happiness. It will never bring you joy. There will always be something to challenge you, to make you depressed or angry, to pull you down. You think you have many problems, but you only have one problem, and that is you are no longer in touch with yourself. If you realized, and I mean realize, not intellectually understand, but realize at the core of your being that you are not your body or your mind, that you are not something that is limited by time and space, that you are in fact immortal, perfect, that you can never die, that you are not limited by time and space, that you cannot be harmed, that nothing in the world of form can scare you or harm you. If you can truly realize this, your problems would go away. You would realize that it is not the outer world that scares you, that your problems are not out there but inside of you. You project your problems onto the outer world, and then you blame the outer world for your inner problems. It is like getting angry at your mirror image. You look in the mirror and you realize you're so fat, so you punch the mirror to punish it. How dare you, mirror, show me so fat. You blame the mirror and you punch it. But the mirror is not the problem. The mirror is just a reflection. It is showing you what is there, without judgment, without blame. It is you who blame yourself. It is you who judge yourself. And that is why you smash the mirror. The mirror doesn't do anything. It is neutral. In the same way, the outer world, the world you see with your eyes and your hear with your ears and smell with your nose, that world is neutral. It is not good, and it is certainly not bad. It just is. You project all your fears, all your hate and anger to the outer world. And then you blame the world for making you feel like this. Oh, it's the fault of my boss. He's so bad. My wife doesn't listen to me. My parents don't love me. My children don't respect me. My neighbors are assholes. Blah, blah, blah. Other people are as they are. Like the world of form. They are neutral. They are reflections of you. It is you reflecting yourself on the outer world. The pain and the misery you feel and that you think is caused by the outer world is actually inside of you and being reflected by the world. Even random incidents like someone insulting you, someone giving you the finger while you're driving, someone being rude to you, strangers. These random events are not random. They are caused by your own subconscious, your own fears being projected outward and being reflected by the outer world. If you have a lot of suppressed anger in you, you will attract other angry people, and both of you will get a chance to take out your anger on each other, to feel satisfied. Because trust me, your inner self feels very happy when you're angry. Not your inner self, sorry, your ego self. It feels very happy when you're angry and when you're depressed. Because the ego can say, see, I told you the outer world is bad. They're all out to get you. The world is bad, I told you. The world is evil, I told you. The ego loves this drama. And that's why it tries to repeat it whenever it can. If it cannot find an incident in the outer world to get angry at, it will create one. It will imagine something. You will imagine your neighbors hate you and build up thoughts of anger about them. Or you will imagine your boss is out to get you and try to sabotage him in return. The mind, the egoic mind, needs drama. And if it can't find any, it'll just invent some. You need to start realizing that all your problems lie inside of you. Anything wrong happening in the outer world is a reflection of what you are inside. You might think you have many problems, but in fact, you only have one problem. And that is, you have forgotten who you are. So to fix all your problems, you don't need to fix the world, find a better job, dump your wife for a newer one, buy a bigger car or house, become a millionaire, become a rock star, have millions of fans on Twitter or Facebook, be featured on TV. You don't need to do any of that, because people who do that are still miserable. All you need to do is touch your inner being, remember who you are, and become peace itself. This can only be done by going inside, by meditating, by contacting the inner teacher to guide you, by becoming aware of yourself as something bigger than the body, as something that is unborn and undying. This can only be realized, not understood intellectually. Your mind can never understand what awakening or self-realization feels like. So don't even try. Don't try to imagine what will happen when you become spiritually awakened. And don't moan about when you will become spiritually awakened. The simplest test is the end of suffering. You will no longer be in suffering. You will still have problems in the outer life. The problems of the world will not go away. But you will cease to be affected by them. You will not identify with the outer world. So you will no longer be affected by what other people do or say. And that is true freedom. Not going into some trance-like state, but being in a state where you are above suffering, where you are beyond suffering. A state where you can live in true joy and peace. And before we go, a few deep breaths. I always leave with deep breaths because the best way to touch your inner being is through deep, conscious breaths. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find the true joy and peace within yourself. Thank you for listening. If you want a free course on how to contact your inner teacher, your own spiritual guide, the part of the divine who lives inside of you and is guiding your spiritual progress, then please go to my website, thepathtojoy.org. That is thepathtojoy.org. Thank you.